The Buried Record, Episode 3. It is May 1945. The war is over, Hitler is dead, the Allied forces are sweeping through Germany, the Nuremberg trials are being prepared, the world believes that justice is coming, that the men responsible for the systematic murder of 6 million people will be found, prosecuted, and made to answer for what they did. They were wrong, because while the trials were being organized, while the photographers were documenting the camps, while the world was still counting the dead, a network was already moving. Quietly. Efficiently. With the help of people nobody suspected. The Nazis were escaping, and they had help from some of the most powerful institutions on Earth. This is the story of the Rat Line. That was the name, used inside Allied intelligence itself, for the escape routes that carried senior Nazi officers, SS commanders, and war criminals out of Europe and into new lives in South America, the Middle East, and beyond. It was not one route, it was a network, carefully constructed, well-funded, and protected at the highest levels. It worked like this. A wanted Nazi officer would make his way to a monastery or a Catholic safe house in Austria or Italy. There, he would be given a new identity, a new name, a new history, a new nationality. He would receive a Red Cross travel document. The International Red Cross at the time issued humanitarian passports to displaced persons without verifying their backgrounds. Tens of thousands were issued in the chaos after the war. The Rat Line exploited every single one. From Italy, ships departed for Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Syria. The officers boarded them as ordinary civilians. Some used their real first names. Some didn't bother changing their appearance. They just left. Now here is the part that takes a moment to absorb. The Vatican was involved. Not officially, not as an institution with a policy, but certain senior figures within the Catholic Church, most notably a Croatian bishop named Krunoslav Draganović, operating out of Rome, ran an active operation to move wanted men through the network. Draganović had connections to the Croatian fascist Ustasha regime, which had collaborated with the Nazis during the war. After the war, he used his position inside the Vatican's relief organization to issue false papers, provide safe passage, and coordinate departures from the Italian port of Genoa. He was not acting alone. He was operating with the knowledge, and in some cases the active cooperation of American intelligence. This is where the story becomes something else entirely. The United States government, officially hunting Nazi war criminals, was simultaneously helping some of them escape. The reason was the Cold War. By 1946, American intelligence had a new enemy, the Soviet Union, and the Soviets had a significant advantage. They had been fighting on the Eastern Front for years. They had intelligence networks across Eastern Europe that the Americans didn't. The Americans needed what the Nazis had. Nazi intelligence officers had spent the war building spy networks inside the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe. They had files, contacts, methods, and knowledge that no one else possessed. So the Americans made a decision. Some of these men were too valuable to prosecute. The most documented example is Operation Paperclip, the program that brought Nazi rocket scientists, including Wernher von Braun, to the United States to work on the American space and weapons programs. Von Braun had used slave labor from concentration camps to build V-2 rockets that killed thousands of civilians. He was given a security clearance and an office in Huntsville, Alabama. But it went further than scientists. Klaus Barbie, the Gestapo chief of Lyon, France, responsible for the torture and deportation of thousands of Jews, was recruited by American intelligence after the war. They knew who he was. They used him anyway. When French investigators got close, American handlers helped him escape to Bolivia, where he lived under a false name for decades, working as an advisor to the Bolivian secret police. And then there is the most famous case of all, Adolf Eichmann, the man who had been the chief architect of the Holocaust's logistics, the bureaucrat who organized the trains, coordinated the deportations, and oversaw the administrative machinery that murdered millions. After the war, Eichmann made his way through the Rat Line to Argentina under the name Ricardo Clement. He got a job at a Mercedes-Benz factory outside Buenos Aires. He lived in a small house in a suburb called San Fernando. He had neighbors. He had a routine. His children went to local schools. He lived like this for 15 years. He was not hiding in a jungle. He was not in a remote mountain village. He was in a suburb, going to work, coming home. The West German government knew he was alive. They had a file on him. They did not act. It was Israeli intelligence, the Mossad, that finally found him, in 1960. A team of agents flew to Buenos Aires, abducted him from the street outside his house, and smuggled him to Israel in the cargo hold of an El Al aircraft. He was tried in Jerusalem, convicted, hanged in 1962. He was the exception, not the rule. Most of them were never caught. Josef Mengele, the Auschwitz doctor who performed experiments on prisoners, escaped to South America through the rat line and died of a stroke while swimming in Brazil in 1979. Free. Never prosecuted, never extradited. Walter Rauff, who invented the mobile gas van, a truck designed to kill people with exhaust fumes, escaped to Chile, lived there openly, died in Santiago in 1984. The Chilean courts repeatedly refused to extradite him. The network worked. For most of them, it worked completely. The rat line is not just a story about Nazis escaping. It is a story about what powerful institutions do when justice becomes inconvenient. The Red Cross issued the papers because the system was overwhelmed and nobody asked questions. The Vatican provided cover because certain officials chose ideology over accountability. The Americans protected killers because they decided that intelligence value outweighed justice. 6 million people were murdered. The men who built the machine that did it largely lived out their lives in peace, because the same world that said never again decided, quietly, efficiently, without a press release, that some of them could go free. Next time on The Buried Record, we go deeper. Subscribe, because these stories don't bury themselves. End of script.